Camila Lemire is a 20-year-old born and raised in Carpinteria, California. She's a barista at Lucky Llama Coffee House with a crazy, unique take on life. She loves her job, along with writing music, taking photos, and spending time with her friends. And she likes reading. I hope you guys enjoy this podcast. Thank you all for listening. Yeah. Have a freaking good day, and welcome to Worlds.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning, skier.
Oh, hey. I'm pretty good right now.
Welcome to Worlds.
Edna Mud.
Edna Mud. Oh, Incredibles. Incredible.
Wait, are we recording?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, it's funny. So.
Oh my god, I'm nervous.
Why are you nervous? We can break the ice.
Yeah. Okay. Because I'm thinking about like, and when I listen to podcasts,
Yeah.
like, you know, like the very beginning, they're not really talking about the actual podcast topic. They're just like
They're bantering.
giggling. Yeah, they're bantering. I'm like, oh my god, that's the banter part right now. Yeah.
We're bantering.
Yeah.
What's your favorite flavor of ice cream? That's a good. I think that's gonna be my
think-
icebreaker question.
That's a good icebreaker question. You see, there are two types of people in this world. There are the people who like a clean, non-chunky ice cream, but I like ice cream packed with flavor. So I like Ben and Jerry's, but some people hate Ben and Jerry's, but I like Ben and Jerry's. And I think my favorite is the Tonight Dough, starring Jimmy Fallon, or Give Me S'more.
Give me s'more.
Or
So you
Give
like
Me S'more, actually, not Give Me.
You want like a packed full of flavor.
Yeah, I like it when there's like lots of chunks, lots of flavors,
Rocky
like
Road.
a lot going on. Yeah, I like Rocky Road.
Okay. So
Like,
some,
not
some
just like a-
marshmallows and some freaking. So you're not like a European gelato kind of person.
But yeah,
whereas
whenever my friends are like, let's go get gelato, I'm like, no, like,
you're a true American.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm very patriotic.
Very patriotic. You like milk in your ice cream like a freaking
Yeah.
American. You don't mess with bullshit from Europe.
Precisely.
If it doesn't have milk in it.
Yeah, oh my gosh, exactly. Don't bring it near me. It's not creamy.
Get it out of here.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Like
want a
sorbet?
milkshake.
Nah.
Okay, hopefully that's fine. I want a milkshake, a burger. And
I
some-
love milkshakes.
some
Those are
french
my
fries.
top 3 favorite drinks.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Do you like paying $8 for them?
No.
Okay, because that's what's gonna happen nowadays.
Yeah.
Isn't that unfortunate?
Yeah. Truly,
Milkshakes
it's
are
heartbreaking.
so much money.
Yeah. I went out for milkshakes the other day and spent like $9.
Really?
Yeah.
Remember when we out? So, well, do you want to introduce yourself first?
Oh yeah. Hi, my name is Camila Lemire. I'm 20 years old. I live in Carpinteria, California. I'm a barista at Lucky Llama Coffee House, and I babysit a baby named Coda on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Amazing. Do you want to hold the mic a little farther away from your
Yes.
face? Not that far. Like
Right
this
there.
far. Yeah.
Cool.
Cool. I'm checking your levels, brah. You're looking good though.
Okay.
So, anyway, you were buying milkshakes the other day.
Yeah, I just went out to get milkshakes with one of my best friends, Jules, and I spent like an absurd amount of money for just one milkshake, but it was bomb. It was bomb.
California. Was it
Yeah.
worth it?
It was worth it, honestly, for the experience,
Ooh.
the bonding that occurred between Jules and I.
Where did you get the milkshake? In and out.
Ventura.
In and out.
No, not an In-N-Out. I love In-N-Out milkshakes.
In and out milkshakes, bro.
Controversial.
Bro.
Some of my friends hate those. I love
Because
them.
they're really hard to drink.
I think they're creamy and delicious.
Dude, no, you have to like suck on the straw so hard,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what am I actually doing here?
You do have to suck on
I don't want
the
to have
straw
to. I don't want to have to
very
work.
hard.
I don't want to have to work for this. I don't have to suck on anything really hard
Yeah,
to
that
get.
is so
get
true.
what I'm
There's like a
trying to-
universal truth of like when you get an In-N-Out milkshake and it's like the first like I'm doing a sucking motion for those of you who can't see me, which is everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I love milkshakes. Milkshakes, horchata, coffee. There's like my top 3.
Horchata.
Oh, I fucking love horchata. Oh my gosh, are we allowed to swear in this?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I'm not one of those people.
You don't
Who
swear?
runs a clean show. No.
Oh.
I fucking swear a lot.
Oh, okay, good. Oh my gosh.
But you love horchata.
Oh yes, I love it. I
Does
love
that
it.
have to do with your heritage?
That's right though. Just kidding. Just kidding. Probably yeah. Like I just grew up drinking it all the time, and it has a sentimental value to me, but it also
Ooh.
tastes amazing.
Your mom make it?
Sometimes when I have been in Mexico visiting my mom's family, they make it for me because they know that I like it.
Okay.
But yeah,
So are you from Mexico?
my mom is from a tiny village, like a tiny town in the middle of nowhere in the south of Mexico. The closest like semi-known city would be Cancun, and that's about 2 days away driving. And my dad is from Carpinteria. On my dad's side, I'm a fourth generation Carpinterian. So I grew up in Carp. My dad grew up in Carp. His dad grew up in Carp, and his dad grew up in Carp.
Dang.
But then on my mom's side, she's from like the middle of literally nowhere and grew up dirt poor, and not even figuratively dirt poor. Literally, the floor was dirt in her house, and it still is in some of like the houses in that town.
Have you been there?
Yes, I grew up going to Mexico every summer throughout my childhood, which is how I learned how to speak Spanish. And I grew up speaking English and Spanish equally. And then by the time I was about 8 or 9, Mexico, especially that part of Mexico, was extremely dangerous. And so my mom stopped taking my brother and I there, and she would go by herself occasionally. But then I went back when I was like 16, and I haven't been back since. But when I went there when I was 16, I went for 3 months, and I did not want to go at all. I was like, don't make me go, because that was at my peak, like Americanized, whitewashed.
You're a patriot, right?
Yeah.
You have milk in your ice cream. You're a patriot.
Yeah, exactly. That was when I was at my peak of, I think, identifying with my Americanism. And so then I did not want to go to Mexico. Like, I wanted nothing to do with it. I like totally forgot about it, and it had like nothing to do with how I identified myself. But then I went, and it totally changed my life, and it was like the best trip I've ever been on in my entire existence.
What was the trip like when you went back?
It was like I didn't have a phone the entire time. There's like I had to like reserve a spot, like the one computer in that town, in order to have any sort of communication with the outside world. And I would use it once a day, and I would email my friends. And there's this one friend, one of my best friends named Catherine Norris, who goes to Northeastern University. I would like email her back and forth every single day the whole time I was there. And it was weird. I was like, I don't know, it's just like completely different from us. Like they don't even have like running water for their showers. And I don't know. It's just crazy. It's like that's a half of me, just as much as my life here is half of me. In conclusion, it was life-changing.
Was it dangerous when you went back?
I don't know, semi. I think especially like in that part of Mexico where my mom is from, it's crazy because when I'm here in America, I don't feel very Mexican. I don't feel very Hispanic, because compared to so many other Latina women, I'm not, because I'm half white. But then there, I'm like la gringa. I'm like white trash. And so that was just weird, because there I'm like white trash, but here I'm like not white. So I don't really know. But yeah, half and half, right down the middle.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Did you feel like you didn't fit into either, or you fit in here?
I mean, I don't really know. I've always kind of like felt, I don't know. That's also like another interesting topic that I've thought about in my mind. When people talk about their experience with race and their race, particularly people who are mixed, and how they struggle with not identifying strongly with either one of like whatever race they are. I always like identify and I empathize and I agree, but then I always feel guilty like giving my 2 cents, because I've lived like a fairly privileged life. And so like, I'm like, like I don't even have a right to comment on this. But I mean, it's just my own personal experience of, I suppose, like, yeah, like around Mexican people, I don't really feel like Mexican enough. I remember being in Mexico, like on that trip, and like telling them like playing really, really, really famous music that I like should know, but that I had never heard before, and that I like didn't know. And it was like, they were like giving me shit for it.
Mexican music?
Yeah, Mexican music. And they were giving me shit for not knowing it. And it was all like fun and games, and it was jokingly, and it was funny. But that day, like, or like whenever they would give me shit for things like that, I would take it to like a deeper level in my mind. And I was like, I don't even like represent my heritage well. Like I don't even have knowledge on like music, like cultural things that I should be aware of. But then like here, I don't feel like, I don't know, here when people are talking about race, then I'm included in the conversation because I am a woman of color. But then I'm like, oh, but I don't even feel like I deserve that title sometimes.
Why?
because sometimes I don't feel like culture conscious enough, or I don't have enough knowledge on like a bunch of things. I don't really know. That's like a whole other thing that even I have yet to understand, because I'm not very self-aware. That's something that I've recently discovered, is that I'm very not self-aware, and I don't like spend time thinking about my tendencies and like why they are the way they are. But yeah, I don't even know what I'm saying right now. I'm really going off on a tangent.
That's what podcasts are.
That's what podcasts are. I'm realizing.
It's going off on
That's what I was worried about at the beginning. I was like, oh, what if I'm not able to like talk? What if I don't know what to say? But when I was telling my friends that I was going to do this, I was like, honestly, it makes sense though, because I have a lot to say about so many things. But then I was nervous that maybe they would like leave my mind. But now I'm like, no, I'm so talkative. I have like 1,000 things to say about anything.
That's great.
Anywho,
I'm trying to talk the least amount as possible.
Is that the point of the podcast, or is it supposed to be like?
No, it's supposed to be conversational. I was just joking. That's a joke because I talk so much in my daily life. Like I will not shut up. That
Relatable.
Yeah. That honestly, podcast for me is a good time to learn how to listen, because I'm terrible at listening to people. If I'm really honest, like I'll talk about me, and then people will talk about themselves, and I'm terrible at like actually, like I'm like nodding and like making eye contact, but my mind is like cherries, Oreos, ski mountains, guitar, like just like random things. And that's not all.
That is so interesting.
That's not all the time, but like my mind will just like feed me things like, oh, it would be really cool to go to Tahiti, like literally.
Yeah, of course.
And so I actually have to actively listen, and I force myself to do that when I'm here. And it's really good selfishly for me as well to do this, because it's a good exercise to try and listen. Yeah.
That's nice. That's good.
Do you ever feel like that way? Like you have to like...
If anything, I actually don't think I feel that way. I think if I had to like commend myself on a skill, I would say I'm a good listener. I think I've proven that to myself. And I think I am a good listener to my friends. And if anything, I struggle with the opposite, where I feel uncomfortable when I've spoken too much to my friends about myself. Sometimes I will like leave a hangout with a friend. If I am, a true friendship, I feel like each hangout is kind of like one person talking more than the other one. Everyone has like, new stuff to share. And so when my friends are like, I'm so sorry, I just talked the whole time, that like bothers me. I'm like, why are you apologizing? That's what friendship should be. You should be sharing like every single detail of your life with me, and I will just absorb it all and leave changed because of it. But then when I do that, I feel guilty, and I'm like, I've revealed too much. They have a one up on me. They have power over me because I've spoken so much. But that's toxic.
Yeah, I think that's toxic.
I think that it totally is toxic, and I'm aware of that at least. And so that's what I struggle with, is letting other people listen to me.
It's all about finding that balance. Because I'm learning too that like talking too much about yourself is just not healthy for other people.
100%.
Because then you give them your problems and stuff like that. And like, depends on the situation. Like if you're talking to a therapist and you're not talking about yourself, then that's not good. But if you're just like, hey, people, these are my problems, it's like, well, they're dealing with their own stuff too. And like, if they invite you to talk about yourself, then do it. But like, be more, like, I need to be more conscientious of that, because that I come off pretty selfish sometimes, for sure.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I'm getting better. And like I said, that's like why I love doing this, is because this is my time to listen to people actively. And I'm not saying that I don't do that on a daily basis. I'm just bad at it, and I'm really trying to work on it. And then this is a good exercise to like do that.
That does perplex me though. As the time I've spent with you, I feel like I left each interaction thinking that you were very much a good listener. And I feel like that's one of the things I was mentioning to Juliet after I first met you. I was like, wow, I really like how many questions he asks. That's a rare quality.
Yeah.
But you're saying that you don't really do that. But maybe it's because you're trying to practice it more. And I've like met you more recently or something. I don't know.
I think definitely more recently I've always asked questions, and my friends that know me know that, well, look, it depends. So if I've known you for a while, and I feel, because I'm not like, oh, I just met you, I'm gonna dump all my problems on you. But if like I've known you for a while, I'm sometimes bad about listening. But if I've just met you, that's why I love this podcast, is because I love meeting new people and talking to them about, like, I interview people all the time, like on the ski chairlift, or like when I just meet people, I'm like, oh, who are you? Where are you from? Like all this stuff. And it's honestly kind of like a meme in my friend group at home. It's like I'll meet some like random girl or like some person, some dude, and I'll just start interviewing them. Like it would be like a friend of one of my friends is in town. I'm like, oh, hi, how are you? My name's Max, blah, 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 blah. And I just won't stop talking. And they're like, dude, like just have a conversation and like chill. It's not an
Oh
interview.
my gosh.
So I think that's why I may have came off like that, like asking those questions, is because I really am interested. And
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a good quality.
thanks. And the only, like I said, the times when I don't listen, that's like a negative thing that I'm really working on. But it exists, and I'll acknowledge that for sure.
If you're aware of it and you're doing something about it, that's all you can do. It's
Hell
good.
yeah, brah.
Oh yeah, brah.
Brah. Anyway, so you said your mom grew up in a dangerous place, and then when did she come to the United States, and why, and how, and was that with you, or what are the details?
What are the details? Well, let's see. My dad, his name is Bosworth Todd Lemire, and he's the whitest person I know. And he grew up in California, and he went to USC and majored in like public relations and minored in Spanish. So my dad was fluent in Spanish by the time he was 22, I'd say. And after he graduated school, he went to business school for international business. And then he started working, had an actual career, and he would travel all the time for his job, like all over the world, because his job basically is, if you have a company, if you have like a startup in the US that you want to then expand internationally and have retailers across the globe sell whatever product it is that you've created, my dad's job would be to take your business and put it like in stores across the world. And I mean, that's like the very brief synopsis. So he would like travel all the time for his job, and he was just everywhere. And then my mom, she was, I'd say, like 24, 25. And she was living in Guanajuato, which is a city in Mexico. And my dad was on a business trip going to Guanajuato. And my mom was out to dinner one night with her coworkers. And my dad was out to dinner that same night with his coworkers. And they went to the same restaurant in Guanajuato. And the restaurant was like pretty packed that night, and they had these really long tables where they would seat multiple parties next to each other. And so my dad and my mom were like sat next to each other, but had like never seen each other before, like totally random, different lives, everything. And my dad saw her, and you know, classic, cheesy, typical. He was like, that's the most beautiful, radiant woman I've ever seen in my life. And so then I actually was talking to my dad about this like 4 days ago. And then he was like, yeah, then I saw her. She's like the most beautiful person I'd ever seen. And then I just went up to her and I was like, ¿Cuál es tu número? That's how he said it, which means, what's your number?
Yeah.
And then my mom gave it to him, I guess. And then they started like calling all the time. And then it got to the point where my dad would pay to fly to Mexico every single weekend to go visit my mom at his like peak infatuation with her. And so then they began this like long distance, beautiful relationship. And then they got engaged. And in 1999, my mom moved here on a fiance visa. And then my parents got married in October of 1999. And I was born a year later. And so I was born here, grew up here, but my mom moved to America simply for the sake of marrying my dad. And then they were married for 15 years or 16 years, and then they got divorced. But we all still here, and and it's all good, and it's great, and it's crazy. And had they not been at the same restaurant at the same time, and had my dad not been like, ¿Cuál es tu número?, I would not be on this podcast with you right now. So that's crazy. But yeah, those are the details, I think.
Yeah, life's nuts.
Yeah, life's nuts.
It's crazy. If your mom had like gotten a phone call to like have a job or do something that night, then you wouldn't exist.
Yeah,
Or like,
it's insane.
yeah, freaking nuts, dude. But so she moved to Carp with your dad.
Correct.
And then you were born in Carpinteria,
I was
California?
born in Santa Barbara, California, but
Santa Barbara.
same thing basically. Yeah. Yeah.
And you grew up in Carp. Can you tell me about what growing up in Carpinteria?
Yes. Carp it's like a small beach town. Whenever I watch movies that take place in small beach towns, particularly the Nicholas Sparks movie Safe Haven. I remember have you seen that?
I've not seen that.
But you know what I'm talking about, right?
I do not.
Oh, okay. It's like this really cheesy
Give me a
romance movie.
synopsis.
It's just like a very corny romance movie that takes place in like a small beach town. And I remember when I first watched that when I was like in middle school, I was so envious of the characters, and I was like, oh, I want to live in a place like that. Like why? And I was just so envious of like all these like small like movie towns. And then I like realized, I was like, oh my God. I was like, wait, I literally live in that town. And I don't know why I thought that I didn't. But in Carp, it's like, it's tiny. Like I can't go to the grocery store without seeing somebody that I know. Everywhere I go, like I run into like 10 people. And so like my friends who come from out of town, they always say like, they're like, Camille, like, is it, people think I'm like some sort of inherently popular person, but it's like, no, like if I went out and didn't see somebody that I knew, that would be embarrassing because everybody knows everybody. And it's crazy. Now I work at like the only like kind of cool place in town. And so everyone comes in every day. I see everyone that I know all day, every day. It's like this tiny circle of people. But yeah, I grew up in Carp. I've lived in the same house my whole life. People, it's like a town where people surf, even though I don't know how to surf, which is really embarrassing, but I'm learning right now. Yeah, I went to elementary school at like a public school called Canalino. Then I went to private school for middle school and high school in Montecito and Santa Barbara, which are just like the next towns over. So I grew up like from the ages of 0 to let's say like 10. I was very much like a Carp person, but then I became kind of like a fake Carp person once I transferred schools because I like didn't go to school with any of the Carp kids anymore, but I lived in Carp. And so I'm still friends with a bunch of like Carp kids, but I also have like a whole other circle of friends because I went to school in Santa Barbara. And so I have like Santa Barbara friends and I have my Carp friends, but now I'm much more involved in Carp because I like work there and live there. But yeah.
Yeah, I grew up in like the similar situation where you like know everyone.
What's it called again? Steamboat Springs?
Steamboat Springs, baby.
Yeah.
Radiator Springs, Colorado. But did you ever find that there were any disadvantages to that? Like knowing everyone knows everyone? Or advantages? Because I definitely like felt like I grew up in a bubble. And I don't know if you felt the same thing. Maybe because you were close to, I mean, how far are you from LA?
I'd say like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
On a good day, like with no traffic.
Yeah, true. So did you ever like feel like you grew up in a bubble, or was it like, oh, Carp is amazing and then Carp is not second, like you can go to Santa Barbara too. So, I mean, maybe you don't feel that way as much, but
I'd say that I somewhat felt like Carp was a bubble in my childhood. But because I had my other circle of friends from school, that helped. And because I was also really involved in church growing up because I grew up religious. And that provided a whole other circle of friends for me. So I had like all my church things going on. I had all my Carp friend things going on. And I had all my Santa Barbara school circle going on. And so I didn't feel like that like encapsulated in a bubble. But when the time came to go to college, I did really want to get out of that bubble that we're talking about. And I wanted to get out so bad, as so many kids do, like regardless of where you grow up. It's this like inherent need to like rebel in a way. Like I need to get out of here. Like screw you guys. Let me go live my own life. Bye. And I mean, I felt that, but when I came to Chapman, because I came to Chapman and majored in film production for only one semester, that was ironically the most in love with Carp I had ever been, was when I was away from it, which makes sense. People always say things like that, like you don't know what you have until it's gone. And that is very, I don't know, that's cheesy, but that's true. That's the time in my life when I found that was true, is when I left Carp. And when I was here living in Orange, the lack of attention that I had was like plaguing to me. It was mortifying. I was just so, it like brought me down that I couldn't go out and see people that I knew everywhere that I went. And the fact that wherever I went, nobody knew who I was, it was in a selfish way, like that bothered me because I was so used to it. And like so many people like loving me, like just loving on me all the time. It's so many people who like, so many like adults who I looked up to, who would like helped me throughout my childhood. And so when I was here, I would just go back home like every single weekend because I missed being home so much. And then I realized that it was when I moved away that I realized it was the most wonderful, perfect place to grow up ever. And then I moved back. And ever since I moved back, it's my affection towards it and my, just like the emotions I feel towards it have like reached a level that I can't even describe. And so now I can't even fathom one day. I mean, I still have my entire like career to think about and all these things that I want to do and places that I want to go. But one day, if I have a family, like one day, if I have like a typical like settle down, this is my family, this is my life experience, I can't imagine having it anywhere other than in Carpinteria. That doesn't make any sense to me. I can't see that. If anything, I could potentially see myself living in the house that I live in right now, like that same house. I kind of want to live there when I am an adult, but in a beautiful way, not in a homebody bubble way.
Yeah.
In a this place means everything to me way.
When did that switch flip from, okay, I want to be rebellious and leave and go experience new things, to getting to the place where you are experiencing new things and then realizing that all you want is to go back? And why?
I think I'm like losing my train of thought here. I think that when I came to Chapman, I found that all the new things I thought I would be learning and experiencing were not coming from being a student at Chapman. If anything, being a student at Chapman is what was withholding me from those things. And I found that the best experiences I was having were through clubs that I had joined on campus that provided me with some sort of outlet, or like the church that I joined when I came, or like the job that I got at the Anthropology in Fashion Island. Like I took every opportunity I did to like get out of Chapman subconsciously. And then I realized it. I was like, oh my gosh, every day I wake up and I like find a reason to get off campus. And to me, that's flawed, because I was like, I want to go to a school where I like thrive on the campus, where I'm like, this is my place. Like, I want to be here. I want to do things on this campus. Like, this campus means so much to me because this is my school that I'm paying like $75,000 to attend. And I was like, I'm paying $75,000 to want to get off campus and like go experience things in Orange and like just do things outside of school. And I was mortified my freshman year of college because I went to a high school where if you go to City College, it's embarrassing. At Carpinteria High School in the town like I literally live in, it's normal. Going to City College is, if anything, it's expected. But the high school that I went to in Santa Barbara, it's like this private 200 kid school. Everyone goes to 4 years. Everyone goes to 4-year universities. If anything, there's like one kid a year who goes to CC and everyone judges that person. And I know this for a fact because I judged people who went to City College. When I was a freshman, sophomore, junior, and people announced that somebody was like not going to a 4-year university, it's like that's code for being a loser. It's like code for being lazy, code for not doing anything with your life. Like your life stops there. That's it. And so if anything, the main reason I didn't want to go back home after coming to Chapman was because I was like, people are going to judge me. People are going to think that I'm a loser, that I'm a failure, that I went to Chapman, like fucked around, did nothing, and like came back because I'm lazy. And like so many thoughts crossed through my mind. But then I was just worried too that like, it's like I viewed my life as like this long, treacherous like bike ride. And I was like going forward. I was like going faster and faster and faster and faster. And I was like, if I go back home, I'm literally like backpedaling into like what I have just experienced. And I do not want to go back home and be babied like by my parents again and like feel like I'm a kid, like living at home, like not going anywhere, not doing anything. But then I realized that like all those problems are totally in your control. And so I went back home and I just created like a whole new life for myself. And now my relationship with Santa Barbara is completely different from my relationship with Santa Barbara before. And that's like a topic that like, I don't know, like Lady Bird touches on that topic, just like your relationship with where you live. And watching films like Lady Bird, I feel like are what made me feel more normal for like having these thoughts. And then I don't know, I just felt a different relationship with the actual like piece of land that is Santa Barbara County. And since having moved back and since having left Chapman, I feel like I've done the most growing and the most changing than at any point in my life previously, which shows me that if anything, the place where it's taken place, which is my hometown, if anything has helped me, if not like prevented me from growing or changing, it's like helped me because I already have like that foundation of being familiar with where I am, and it's allowed me to like focus on so many other things rather than like worry about just like where I live, because that's like a given now. I don't know if that made any sense.
No, that totally makes sense. I have a lot of friends who, I don't know if they're planning on moving back to Steamboat or like just people out there who are going to move back to small town. But you talked about how you changed your mindset and how you used your familiarity to your advantage to make you more capable of focusing on external things that you want to accomplish. How did you flip the switch from having that old mindset of where you are to like taking a new view on it and using it to contribute to your success?
I mean, I honestly, again, this is where like my not being self-aware is like a problem, because I don't know like how I come to these conclusions. But when I went back to Santa Barbara after coming to Chapman, I transferred to SBCC, Santa Barbara City College, and I was a film major there, where I'm no longer in school. But at first I was like embarrassed to be back in Santa Barbara when I first moved back. And my decision to move back to Santa Barbara too was like impulsive. It's not like I like everything that I just explained to you. It's not like I had these thoughts and then made the decision to move back home. I moved back home on impulse. Like I made the decision in one day. I was back home eating ice cream with my friend, American ice cream. Not gelato. I was eating ice cream with my friend Ava Moraus, and I was complaining to her about Chapman. And then, because it was like over winter break, and then I had this like epiphany when I was eating ice cream with her. I was like, wait, if I hate it this much, I should just not go there. And then the next day, I took my mom's car, came back to Chapman, grabbed my stuff, and left. And I like never looked back, and I never thought about it ever again. And I never analyzed why I really did it. I was just like, I'm over it. Bye. And then I left, and then I went back home. And since it's happened, now I've like understood what my reasoning was, which is everything I just explained to you. And like all like the struggles that I was like going on, like all the mental battles that were going on in my head of like, no, like just like the things, like me playing devil's advocate with myself. But I think that going back to City College, like my film classes at CC, if anything, were like the best film classes that I'd ever taken. Like the film community in Santa Barbara is awesome. It's amazing. Like the people are so talented, interesting, kind, intelligent, amazing. And so I think what helped me the most was just literally attaining tangible things that were different from what I had before I moved away. So like going to a new school, getting a new job, like wearing new clothes, like small things that like mean a lot to me, but that like totally changed my life. I got a new job. I went to a new school. I made new friends at that new school. I like just all those things are what like completely helped me like reinvent myself And I think about who I was before I moved away, and it's like a completely different person from who I am now.
So
But of course,
So you changed externally, and you changed the external to change your internal.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I like changed just because that was like my biggest fear with moving back to Santa Barbara was like what Lady Bird's biggest fear is. She's like, I want to like live through something. I want to like experience something. I want to feel something. And I mean, like, that's like emo as shit, but like, it's true. Like, that's what everyone our age wants, is like, I want to live through something. I want to fucking feel something.
Find your passion and
yeah, I
pursue
want to
it.
like find what it is that I meant to find. I want to like do all these things. And I was like, if I go back home, like the odds of that happening are immediately like narrowed. And I was like, I just don't want to feel the same. I don't want to like, I'm also like, I'm a very big fan of change. I do not like staying the same. If anything, like, I just want new things. I feel like if anything, you kind of remind me of that, where I get very bored very easily. And I was like, I do not want to go back home and be bored and be lazy and like not do anything. And when I did first move back home, I did struggle with that. Like, that was probably when my mental health was like not very good, was when I first moved back, because like I didn't yet know or understand how to like change my mindset and how I viewed where I lived. But over like the course of time, like especially like this past year is when it's been like the best. If anything, like I'm doing the best now than I have in a long time. Like relation to like my relationship with my community, my friends, myself, my life, my career, my passions, my interests, etc.
Can you talk about what Lady Bird is to people who don't know?
Lady Bird is a film written and directed by Greta Gerwig, my role model. Shout out to McKenna Thurber if you're listening to this. I know you love that movie. Yeah, and I don't even know why. I mentioned it multiple times, and I find that I mention Lady Bird often in my conversations with people, which I suppose is a sign that movie affected me a lot. But yeah, it's just like a movie about a young girl living in Sacramento, and the movie, in summary, is about her relationship with her mom and her relationship with Sacramento. And it takes place like throughout her senior year of high school, and then she moves away to New York to go to school. And when I watched that movie, I like was, I mean, it's like very much a movie that women watch and like feel seen by watching. And I also had that experience, as I know many other women have. So I know I'm not alone in this. But yeah, that movie totally like made me feel like all the things that I was thinking were normal things to think and feel.
When did you see it for the first time?
Probably like my senior year of high school, like before I moved away to Chapman. Like, and I was like the same age as her in the movie.
So it literally was.
It was like very much aligned with my life, and it was because I mean, I just got the chills. In Lady Bird, I remember like the line that made me feel like that, like tugged at my soul strings, was when she's like sitting in her school counselor's office and she's talking about wanting to move away to go to school. And she's like complaining about Sacramento. And that's like something that everyone who like grows up in a small town, like you, like me, like whoever, like even Sasha, you like complain about it. And there's like so many things to complain about. And Lady Bird, she's Christine. She's like complaining about growing up in Sacramento and how she wants to leave that bad. But then while she's complaining about Sacramento to her school counselor, she mentions things about the town that are like very detailed. She like mentions like specific streets, like specific restaurants. Like she knows so much about it. And then her school counselor says something along the lines of like, wow, you know so much about this place. You care about it so deeply. And Lady Bird responds defensively. And she's like, no, I don't. I just pay attention. And the school counselor responds, well, aren't they the same thing? Love and attention. And then Lady Bird's like stumped. And then it moves on to the next scene. And then I found that when I came here and when I was like leaving Carpinteria, like, oh, like the attention that I have for it is like stems from a love that I have for it that I'm not even aware that I have. But now that I'm aware that I have, because of the things that have happened in my life too, that led me here. Anywho, I love Lady Bird.
It's crazy how you as a lover of film can relate a film so much to your life. I think that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. I mean, that movie, it's a little bit easier because it's so like on the surface, it's like very obviously like similar to my life and like the life of a lot of my friends. But yeah. That movie, I feel like just made me realize that I personally have a very strong interest in just female relationships. That's like things that I like want to write about are like female relationships, like mother-daughter relationships, just relationships between women, because that's like something that's been a big deal in my life. That's like affected my life a lot. And then the relationship between like person and place, because that's also affected me a lot. Because I mean, even if I grew up in like a big city, or like regardless of where you grew up in, like people don't really like talk about like, I never really like think about how like the place you literally live affects who you are. I always think of like the people in my life affecting who I am, but it's like the place does too. And I realized that like with even like Juliet, or like I think it was like Juliet and Sasha freshman year at Chapman, were telling me that I was like so California. And then my friends who like went to school on the East Coast, when they came back home, like my Santa Barbara friends who went to school on the East Coast and came back home for Christmas break, they were like hyper aware of my California-ness because of like all the East Coast people that they had met. And I mean, like, I don't even know, because I don't know that many people from the East Coast. To me, I'm just like a normal person. But to all my friends now who like live on the East Coast, and my friends who are from the East Coast, Sasha, Juliet, whoever, like I am what one would expect a person from California to be. But I don't know, because I don't know any different. Like, if anything, I would believe that you were from California if you told me you were from California.
A lot of people think I'm from California.
Yeah, you have that vibe.
It's the hair.
Yeah, honestly, it is the hair. Oh, it totally is the hair.
It's the hair.
But I mean, for the people who are listening to the podcast, Max is wearing Bluntstones. I'm wearing Bluntstones. And that's like a very Carp thing. Like, if you don't have Bluntstones, you're a freak. It's like, come on, like, get Bluntstones. Yeah, like my coworker Zach didn't have a pair of Bluntstones, and we all gave him shit about it all the time. I was like, get Bluntstones, and it worked. My bullying worked, and now he has a pair and he wears them. And I'm like, I take 5% credit for that.
Shout out Bluntstones.
Shout out Bluntstones. Yeah, like sponsor us, please.
Yeah, no, it actually is a sponsor.
Wait, what?
We got.
Oh,
we worked that in so well.
Yeah.
I targeted the question to address Bluntstones eventually.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, no, I get that. I'm really Californian all the time.
Extremely.
And Norwegian.
Yeah,
no, funny, because I'm not to go off of our topic, but
it's the point of the podcast.
Yeah, right. I went to Norway, and a lot of like with my soccer team to play in a tournament, and a lot of the Norwegian people there spoke to me in Norwegian because they thought I was Norwegian. And I was flattered until they figured out that I was a stupid American who only spoke English, and they're like, "Okay, the McDonald's is around the corner." They kept saying that. It was really funny. I'm like, I don't eat McDonald's. I do, but
That's funny though. I was talking to my friend Robbie, who's from the Netherlands, about that. One day I was like, what do foreign people like? What do they think of Americans?
They think we're idiots.
Yeah, and then because I like had never thought about that, and he was like, it's like we think you're idiots. He was like, we think of like just like Wendy's, McDonald's, and like overly patriotic people. And I was like, wow, like I don't identify with like any of those things, but I could see why that would be the stereotype. It makes a lot of sense.
I'm patriotic.
He said that they think of like the South and McDonald's.
Yeah, true. I think a lot of people think that I remember, I went to Norway, and they thought that like, I don't know, I think the South is like the not the South is bad. My girlfriend's actually from the South, so the South definitely
love you, Juliet.
Yeah. But no, I think people's interpretation of America is like fat and NASCAR loving, like
100%,
which isn't bad, but it's just interesting. I think what I love about America, and this is why I'm patriotic, is how different everyone is. And like you said, you're American because you love milk in your ice cream.
Yeah.
You like ice cream or whatever.
100%. Like the
variety.
The immigrants make America great, like slogan. I fuck with that.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's true.
And the cool thing about America too,
that's what being American is like there is no one definition of being American.
And ultimately, like everyone is an immigrant, because like even if you are American and your family eventually came here at some point, because America, like if you go to China, like the variety of people in China is not nearly the same in the diversity as like America.
100%.
And I think that's amazing.
100%.
Not a lot of people talk about that. Yeah.
This is true. Every time I say 100% now, I have this some random detail in my mind. I have a coworker named Juan, and we all make fun of him all day, every day, because his name is Juan. And so we say, like, whenever we say the number 1, we just say Juan instead. We'll be like, what time is it? And I'm like, Juan o'clock. Or I'm like, it's Juan 30, baby.
100%.
Or like whenever I'm counting the drawer at the end of the day, I'm like 99, Juan 100. And right now, when I was saying 100%, I was about to say 100%. But I was like, if I say that to Max, like, he's not going to understand the joke, because I say it all the time, but like my coworkers get it, but like nobody else gets it. But anyways,
Now I
100%. Yeah.
100% understand.
Yeah, exactly.
now.
Shout out to Juan.
Shout out to Juan. So you've talked about, you've like alluded to film, and we just talked about Lady Bird and stuff. Can you talk about how your love of film and interest in making movies and just the arts in general started?
I'd say, well, I just recently came to the realization in my life that I do not believe any artist has like a singular medium that's like meant for them. And I don't know why it took me so long to realize that, but if you are passionate about something artistic, odds are it's because you're just inherently creative and like artistic in your mind, and you just have to like manifest it in like every way that you can. It's not like you can just write music or you can just make films. I think that's clownery. But I grew up like playing music, which was like my biggest thing. Like music has always been my biggest thing. And I was like 5, started piano lessons, and I grew up playing and singing in church like every single Sunday. And then in school, I would do like every single school show, like every single one. And so I was like really into theater, performing, music, all that stuff growing up. And then in high school, just as I think it's similar for like a lot of people our age, just like watching YouTube videos is what made me want to pursue film. If anything, I feel like you and I don't know if we've spoke about Casey Neistat together, if it was you and I, but I feel like it was you, where like he's the one who made me want to make movies.
You have a YouTube channel, don't you?
I do. I haven't even gone on it, clicked on the link in like, I'd say 2 years, but I did in high school. I would post on it like all the time.
How often?
I don't know, like once a month. Maybe that's not all the time, but like to me, it was like as much as I could. And I just liked filming my friends and then like going home and uploading it to my computer and like editing it in iMovie. I thought that was so fun.
Did you get shit for it?
No, if anything, I got hyped up for it.
Really?
Yeah, like my friends lived for that shit. Probably like from a narcissistic perspective, because they're like, oh my God, like it's me with like a dramatic song in the background. But it was in like, music has always been a part of my life. Theater has always been a part of my life.
Theater kid?
I talked about this to one of my coworkers recently. In the schools that I've gone to, like they're too small. Like there are no like theater kids. It's like just like even like the cool kids like do theater at my school. It's just
Really?
like it's just fun and cool. Like we don't really have like theater kids like the stereotypical like cringy ones, but like I do know
Cringy.
of like a little bit.
They're
though.
good people.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was never a theater kid, but I had theater kid friends. And
They're
they are
good people.
people.
They are, of
that
course.
Are artsy.
I don't identify with the term theater kid.
Identify.
Yeah. That term scares me. I'm like, no, do not think. I don't want to be in that group. But love theater kids. I suppose I'm like as close to a theater kid as one could get
Hey,
in my
I'll
high
be
school.
slotted into the theater kid group as any time. I'd be honored.
Okay, you're right. I should be honored. But film began in high school with like watching YouTube videos, things like that. And that made me want to make videos, and then I did. So I would like just make random crap and upload it to my YouTube channel and tell my friends about it, or like make videos for like my classes, or whenever my school would take us on trips, I would like do a little montage video, like normal like high school things. And then when I was thinking about like what I wanted to pursue in college, I was like, well, that's like one thing I like about myself, at least, is I'm it's impossible for me to like do something that I am not passionate about. Like I will not succumb to any sort of pressure that requires me to do something I don't want to do. Like never. And that was never even a question in my mind. Like I never in high school felt a pressure to pursue a very like academically based career. Like that never was a problem to me. I was like, no, I don't care. I'm always just going to do whatever I like to do. So like my junior year, I was just thinking like, well, what do I enjoy doing? And I was like, I like making the videos for my YouTube channel. And I was like, I guess that means I want to be a film major. So then I looked at schools. I toured USC, I toured Chapman, I toured NYU. And I felt an attachment to Chapman. So I applied early decision. So Chapman was the only school that I applied to. And I found out like December of my senior year that I was accepted for film production at Chapman, early decision. And that was that. And I never really thought twice about it. And then I came here and I majored in film at CC. But I'm not doing that anymore. But I still, of course, I'm like passionate about it and love it and want to do it with my life. But yeah.
Just quick before we talk about university stuff. So you had a YouTube channel, and when did you? So you started, and how many subscribers did you get eventually?
Literally none. Like literally like 100. Like it was not.
That's a lot of people. If you look, this is what I think people don't understand about Instagram following and subscribers and whatever in general is like, take 100 people and put them in a room. That's a lot of people in a room. Or
yeah,
like people
that is
like
true.
have like how many followers do you have on Instagram?
I don't know, like 900 something.
Okay, think about 900 people in an auditorium.
That's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people.
Damn, I've got hella followers.
Yeah, you do. So I think that numbers wise, everything, well, it's hard because it's just a number, but like a like on a photo or like the amount of followers that you have is, I think it's misunderstood and misinterpreted because people throw like 1,000 and million around these days, but they don't really realize how large. Like think about like there's in quote unquote like influencers now
Yeah.
that have like who's probably the most followed person on Instagram, like 100 million.
I think like, no, I think it's more. I
More?
think it's way more.
Okay.
Like I think Kim Kardashian is probably the most followed person on Instagram right now.
Or I think it's Ronaldo. This is why I need a
Kim K's got 191 million.
191 million. Okay.
Yeah.
So how many people are on the planet?
Like 7 billion?
Okay. And so 1,000, not 1,000 million, 100 million. Wait,
1,000 million.
you know what? All right, you know what? So there's like 100 million, 200 million, 300, and then up to 900, and then a billion, right? So 100, would you say 121 million?
191 million.
191. So 200 million people. So that's a 2 out of 10. That's a fifth of a billion.
20%.
Yeah. So then that's 10% of the whole world follows Kim Kardashian on Instagram. Is that math?
I don't know what the math is.
That's
exactly.
not, no, it's not 10%.
I don't think that that's the exact percentage, but the concept is
concept
true,
is
and
there.
I agree with you, and that is crazy.
And I think that's crazy. And then think about all those people on a field.
That's insane.
Yeah. And
Lots of
so
people.
I think like that kind of influence is misunderstood. Like I don't think she realizes the power that she has. And like even like you as like 900 people or me with like I have 2,000 whatever, not to flex, but
Oh my gosh.
oh yeah, I'm a big deal. I think we misunderstand the reach that is possible nowadays for sure.
100%. That's true. Or 100%.
100%.
Yeah.
But so you did YouTube,
Oh yeah.
and that was because of Casey Neistat originally, you said?
I'd say there are like a number of people, but he's the most prevalent one in my mind.
Can you talk about who he is?
I mean, yeah, Casey Neistat, YouTuber from, where is he actually originally from again?
He's from Connecticut,
I think, yeah. And then, but he's like known for being from New York.
New York City.
New York City. And
OG.
his his daily vlogs and but it wasn't even his vlogs that made me want to make videos, because if anything, like I was never a person to vlog. It was Casey's videos that he would release every so often about like a more, I don't know, like emotional part of his life.
Serious subject.
Yeah, like on the serious subjects. Like he would like talk about like a trip that he went on with his son. Like I remember like the one that moved me the most was he made a video about a tattoo that he has like on his arm that he got because he went on a trip to Africa with his son Owen, and like he got bitten by a tiger shark at this waterfall. And it was like this one tiny random moment. But when he was in the waterfall, like naked with his son, looking at like a rainbow, looking over at this horizon in Africa, he like thought to himself, like, this moment is like, it's something that will like never happen again. Like, you know, everybody has these moments in life where you're like, you are become aware of it in the moment. You're like, oh, this is one of like the moments in my life. That's one of the moments in my life. I don't even know what the word is to describe it. But then he like wanted to remember it forever. So he just got it tattooed on his arm. Just the date, the time, the location. Like, that's it. And he just has like that one moment plastered on him forever. And then that made me want to do that for things in my life, because I felt like that was how I viewed my life, of like these moments that meant a lot to me that maybe didn't to maybe like the other person in the moment with me. But I don't know. And so then I started like creating videos that were like similar to those kinds of videos that he would make. But also like I would make just like random funny videos too, of like people telling stories in my high school and things like that.
Did you watch Casey's videos frequently? Like
Yeah,
his
like all
daily
the time.
vlogs? What did you feel like? Because I did the same thing.
I don't really anymore at all, but
Yeah.
I used to a lot. Yeah.
I watch him still.
You still watch them?
Oh yeah.
Oh, no way.
He doesn't have daily vlogs. It's weird. He just has a really inconsistent posting schedule. But what did you feel like? So he'd post like every day, and after like how many years or months did you watch him, you think?
Oof, I don't know. I'd say I watched him like pretty consistently for like 3 years.
And what was your feeling whenever you would watch a Casey Neistat video?
I think I felt like I could do anything. Like, he's very personable, and he's very much, he's like,
You feel like he's your friend?
yeah,
Yeah, I get the same thing.
I feel like he's talking to me.
Yeah.
And I feel like regardless of all the success that he's had, I feel like I only know what I know of what I've like seen through him. Like what he's in control of how we perceive him, because he puts out his content and he like knows how we're going to perceive him. So like, I don't know what he's really like.
I think that's smart that you realize that, because a lot of people think that it's just like whatever he puts out is exactly what his day is like. And then they interpret that to be like, it's like a filter on life, right? Like you only show the good parts
Yeah, 100%. And like that's true for YouTubers, of course.
for anything.
For literally anything. And so I only know what Casey Neistat wants me to know about him. But what it seems like, and what he's allowed me to discover, is that regardless of all the success that he's had, it seems like he's done a very good job of, I don't know, like maintaining humility and like maintaining, like remembering who he is at the end of the day. Like I feel like I watch his old videos and I watch his new videos, and at the core of the video, he's like the same person to me. And I feel like he's like, when he talks about his life and like what led him to like get to where he is now, and when he talks about like how he ended up in New York, like all those like sentiments and the feelings that he had growing up about like wanting to do things with his life and wanting to like make movies and do shit and like make art, I like identified with. So I don't know, it just feels like he's a real person, like he's our friend.
Yeah.
I'm agreeing with you.
Do you think that so that you feel like he's your friend?
Yeah, for sure. Big role model there, Casey Neistat.
I think the craziest part about YouTube, and honestly, Casey Neistat was the first person, and honestly, he helped me really get into film, because it almost feels like it is a friendship. It's a one-sided friendship, but I felt like whenever I watched Casey Neistat every single day, I'd be checking in on a friend for 10 minutes and spending time with him, be like, oh, what is your day like? And he's like, oh, hey, person, but person is Max. And it felt like it was like someone made a video for, like, my friend who lived in New York made a video to me about his day every day, and I got to go watch it.
Yeah.
And then if my friend was like, oh, you should buy this hoodie, or my friend was like, oh, you should go check out this place, I'd be like, oh, cool, I'm gonna go do that because it's a recommendation from a friend.
Yeah.
But he's not my friend.
Yeah.
If I met him, he'd never know me. But,
yeah. He has no idea
he's
who
like,
we
who
are.
the fuck are you, dude? But that kind of alerted me to the power of film and disconnection in general, is because people can identify with, I don't think they even realize to the extent, with people and their lifestyles so much. Like, to the point of, like I said, I felt like I literally was in a friendship with this guy.
100%.
And for me, that's the question that I want to ask you is that's part of the reason why I got into film, is because I wanted to make people feel that way. Like I could be their friend. And like, I wanted to give people connection to not just me, not me, because that's selfish, but also like giving them characters or building worlds where like you identify with Lady Bird so much. And I think that's super, super cool and super powerful. And I wanted to like give people that. And I was wondering if you feel the same way.
I think one of my good friends named Claire Rossi, she's a filmmaker who went to Emerson, very talented woman. I was talking to her about film one day and she said, I just want to make movies that make people cry. And that sounds bizarre, but at the end of the day, like I agreed with her when she said that, because the movies that in my life that have made me want to make movies are Lady Bird, mid-90s, Moonlight, Moonrise Kingdom, all A24, exactly. And so I found in college, I was like, all the A24 movies are the ones that are inspiring me the most. Not even on purpose. Like, it's not like I didn't ask for that from A24, but like they were doing it. So then I asked myself one day, I was like, okay, every single A24 film, like on the surface, is completely different. Like they have different aesthetics. They have different, like they're all so different, but they have something in common. And I don't know what that is, because they all make me feel the same way. They all are what make me want to make movies. And I mean, I don't know what A24's technique is. I don't know what it is that they go for. I mean, I'm sure like it's somewhere on their website. Like, I'm sure it's like available to us, that information. But I think the ones that I've seen, like each A24 film is written and directed very often by like one person. It's like the same writer director. And most films by A24, like in a sense, they're like kind of like inspired by that writer's life. And it's like each movie like takes you into like this world of like this, of like a seemingly real world, or like at least my favorite A24 films have done that for me, where like it feels like a real life that I'm like becoming a part of. And then I finish the movie and it feels like the writer like let me into like their soul. And I was watching a YouTube video about that one day. This guy was analyzing like, what do A24 films have in common? And it was like his theory was that each A24 film is like, A24 wants like movies that are made by people who like have something to share from like their personal experience. Like when Greta Gerwig talks about Lady Bird, she said it's not autobiographical. Lady Bird is not based on a true story, but the movie is true, is what she says about it. And that's kind of what Jonah Hill says about mid-90s as well, where it's like those actual things didn't happen, but they very well could have. They're just like slightly altered versions of like what did happen in his life and like how he perceived his life growing up in LA in the 90s skating. Or like for Greta Gerwig growing up like in Sacramento in like whatever year that was. But what are we even talking about? Film. Oh yeah. And so I feel like watching movies that felt real to me, that moved me, are what made me want to make movies, because I was like, I want to do that like with my life and like my experiences and like somehow like touch somebody else, which is why I think I also am very inclined to pursue documentary filmmaking, as I know you are, because that is, if anything, like one of the easiest ways to accomplish that is like through documentary. But yeah, there's like, have you heard of Meet the Patels?
I have not.
I was unsure if I should bring this up, but who cares? I'd rather bring something up and regret it than not bring it up and regret that. Meet the Patels is a documentary by this guy named Dev Patel. He's an actor like in Hollywood right now. And that movie is something I think you should watch, that totally changed my life, that made me want to pursue film. It's about just like growing up. His family is Indian, and the movie is it's a documentary that he made with his sister. And it's about their relationship with their parents and like the marriage system in India, and how he grew up in America though, this guy Dev Patel. And so he's like this like whitewashed Indian living in America, but his family is Indian. and he travels back to India like regularly with his family, and it's like about his journey to like finding love. And so it's like a rom-com documentary, and it's about like his love life, his relationship with his sister, his relationship with his mom, his relationship with his dad, and how like him dating like a white girl put a strain on his relationship with his parents. And then he ended up going to India, and like he like at some point like he like had given up on love in his life, and so he like told his mom like, Mom, I'll allow I'm gonna let you work your magic. You can just like set me up in like the Indian marriage system, like, and like I'll let you like find me a wife, essentially. And so like it's like about culture and like family and like love and person and place and like so many things. And that made me just, I don't know what I'm going to make movies about one day, but like it's either going to be like a literal documentary about like the things that I've like seen and done, or something that's like fictional but very, very close to the truth. And so that's what I want to do. Something that's like as similar to real life as possible. I don't ever see myself working on film that's like extremely like fantasy, sci-fi, like that's just like not my forte.
You want it relating to the human experience?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So you went to high school and then you went to Chapman and you were in film production.
Correct.
And can you talk about when you showed up, what your experience was like and when it became a negative one?
This is also something I have like not thought about enough, because I like made the decision to leave Chapman so impulsively.
That's interesting though.
How so?
Because I think a lot of people talk about, I think honestly the idea of dropping out of college is fantasized nowadays. And it's like every movie, every smart person is like, I dropped out of college to like do this thing. And I just think not a lot of people, even including me, have the balls to do it, because it is a huge commitment. And I just think that you said that it was quite impulsive. And for a lot of people, that's not a very impulsive decision. Like an impulsive decision is like, oh, I guess I want to go get a burrito right now. That's like my kind of impulsive decision.
Yeah.
But your impulsive decision was, I'm honestly, you probably dramatically changed the course of where you're going to be at in life by leaving. And that was an impulsive decision. And like for me, whenever I get to like those kind of crossroads, I know it. And then I freak out because I know that a decision, like I was going to transfer sophomore year to University of Utah. Like I wanted to, because I wanted to ski every day and do those things, but I stayed. And I knew that decision to stay or not to stay would dramatically change the way my life goes. And that freaked me out. So I just think it's crazy that you did like approach that decision so impulsively.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's true, Max. I don't know. I have someone recently like was asking me about this, like the amount of times people have asked me like, so why did you leave Chapman? Like it's astounding. And I still have not developed an answer.
I'm glad I asked really unique.
No, you
questions.
have, but like so many people have asked me that. And every time I like am stumped. At the end of the day, like I don't know if I came to Chapman and my classes, like I enjoyed somewhat, but number one, like growing up, not even in terms of like academia, just like the place, growing up in Carpinteria, growing up in Santa Barbara, like it's only downhill from there. I came to Chapman and I remember just being disgusted with Orange County. I was like, this is gross. Get me out of here. This is disgusting. I was like, I hate it here. Like I hate it. I just did not enjoy the physical appearance of where I was living. And then my classes, like I remember the one class that I enjoyed the most was my film studies class, where we would have like screenings every single week and like watch a movie. And then the next day we would like talk about it in like a huge lecture hall. And that was like,
was that film aesthetics?
Yeah. Oh wait, film aesthetics is what it was called. Yeah. With Michael Albright.
Yeah.
And fun fact, when I transferred back to City College, he was actually my professor at City College as well.
Oh wow.
Because he also like transferred to teach at Santa Barbara City College, which is really weird. But I think that, what is my perspective on this? I think that when I came to Chapman, I found that you learn a lot in school, but like the most learning I've done is in conversation like this, that's when I learn the most. Every time I leave a like long, profound, eye-opening conversation with one of my friends, like that just stemmed from nothing, that's when I feel the most change as a human being, not after leaving a class.
You should start a podcast.
Exactly. And so I found that when I was at Chapman, like I liked it, but I wasn't like finding like, I wasn't like coming to these like conclusions and having these like the epiphanies that I wanted to be having. I was like, I want my mind to be blown like every day in class. That's what I want. Like, that's what I should be paying for. Like, I want to, like the things that I was learning, I was like, I just didn't understand why I was paying to learn them. I was like, I could learn this on my own, like without paying for it. Didn't make sense. Or like the analytics of like watching a movie and then talking about it the next day. I'm like, I can do that like for free. Like, I don't know why I'm paying for that. But of course, I see like there are so many benefits to being in film school. Like there are so many pros and cons. I would never like, if I had a kid, I would never say like, don't go to film school. Like it's up to you, like to each his own. And I have friends, like one of my good friends named Sydney Edgecombe. She's a very good example to bring up because this girl named Sydney Edgecombe, she and I grew up together in Santa Barbara. We actually were born on the same day in the same hospital in Santa Barbara, September 2nd, 2000 in Cottage Hospital. And Sydney and I grew up together. We went to high school together and we both came to Chapman together. And I was a film production major and she was a creative producing major. And I hated it and she loved it. And I left and she's still here, like thriving, like not peaking, but like, she's like, this is like her place. It makes sense for her. She loves it. And Chapman was like the perfect fit. And I knew that when I was leaving, which is interesting because like, it just shows like how subjective it is, art school, film school, whatever it is. Like, I think some people like thrive in that sort of environment, but I just found that that's not what I wanted, especially because if anything, when I came to Chapman, that's when it really like that, I had that epiphany that I mentioned earlier where I was like, oh my God, here I am in film school, dedicating so much of my creative energy to film, where I have like so many other creative endeavors that I feel passionate about, like so many other things that I want to be putting my energy towards. And that's what I found like right now in my life. Like I put so much of my energy into my job, into like my relationships with my friends, into like the music that I write, like the poetry, prose, whatever that I write. Like those are all equally important to me, just as important as film. And when I was in film school, like I had to, of course, dedicate most of my time, most of my energy, most of my like mental capacity to film because it was what I was like studying. It was what I was like majoring in. And I like had less time for the other things that I wanted to do. And I think what I found is like, I wanted more time to just like evenly share the wealth amongst all my interests. I wanted to like live back home because it was perfect and amazing and beautiful. And I loved knowing everyone and I loved living there, even though now I have a whole new circle of friends. Like now all those people that I knew who I wanted to be around again are like, a lot of them are not even like living in Carp anymore. I have a totally new circle where I live, but I think it became a bad experience the moment I got here. Like there was never a point when I was at Chapman where I was like, yes. The only moments I was like, I felt like I was meant to be here was when I was with Juliet or when I was with Sasha or with McKenna Thurber. It was like when I was with my friends. I remember I was sitting on the roof of like Henley Hall having a conversation with McKenna Thurber about Lady Bird. And we were crying, talking about Lady Bird and how much that movie changed our lives. And that moment like made me feel, I remember afterwards, I was like, oh, maybe I am supposed to be here because it was such a good conversation. And I was like, if I didn't come here, I never would have had that conversation. And that conversation changed my life. But that had nothing to do with the school. It had everything to do with her and it had everything to do with me. And it's like, I could have these conversations like with whoever I want, whenever I want. And that's what matters to me is like interactions like that and not like interactions with my professor in like a 700 person capacity lecture hall talking about a movie that I saw the day before with like 1,000 other kids. I don't know. But I think it was always the wrong experience. And I knew that from the very beginning. And it got like when I first got here, I remember Juliet and I, like that's one of the things that Juliet and I bonded over is how much we didn't like Chapman. And same thing with Sasha and like same thing with my other Chapman friends who like some other people like I'm not really friends with anymore. But Thanksgiving break hit. And when we came back from Thanksgiving break, all the kids who I bonded with over not liking Chapman were like talking about how it was getting better for them. Like, I like Chapman more now. Like, over time it was getting better. But after I went home for Thanksgiving, I came back and I was like, oh my God, like it was like the worst it had ever been, because I'd spent a week back home and I like remembered what it felt like to be happy. And then I came back to Chapman and I was like, oh my God, like I don't like it here, because I like realized how much more of like myself I was when I was back home, and like how much happier I was. And that's why I was only here for one semester, because like I came to that conclusion very quickly, but made the decision very impulsively, because I guess that's just how I am. And I like just couldn't do it anymore. And it felt really good. I haven't regretted it at all, a single time ever.
It's good to hear that you don't regret it.
100%. If anything, I was talking to one of my coworkers, Eli, about this yesterday. He was asking me about school, and I was telling him, like, for the first time ever, actually, since not being in school, I'm not insecure about it. I used to be very insecure about it, but now I can honestly say that now I genuinely don't give a fuck about the fact that I'm not in school, and I don't think I ever will, because I know who I am and I know what my qualities are. And like sometimes I think to myself, like, ugh, am I like, what would cross my mind when I like was first not in school was like, am I lazy? Am I a failure? Like, am I lazy? I don't want to be lazy. And I was telling my mom about that one day. I was like, Mom, I feel like I'm lazy, even though consciously I know that I'm not, but I subconsciously feel lazy. And my mom was like, if you were lazy, like you wouldn't be waking up at like 5 a.m. to go to work every day and like be so passionate about it. And if anything, one of the people in my life who didn't not knowingly helped me realize that I wasn't a failure too was when I was talking to you. And when you were talking to me like on the beach that one day, and I was talking about like my like lack of sense of like direction, and how I like don't know where I'm going in life, and how I don't have any plans, and how I'm not in school, and how I don't really care, but like how I have like so much motivation. Like I put so much of my energy into my job, and like it's crazy. Like I work really hard and I care about it so much. And I'm like, and I care so deeply about like all these things that I want to do, but I like don't know how to do them. And like I get really overwhelmed, and like that just makes me not do anything. Like that artist's mindset. And then you said something like, you have a lot of drive, but you just like don't have the direction. And I was like, ugh, that's very simple and obvious. And I don't know why I haven't realized that. And that's how I view it now, where I'm like, I have drive, but I don't have direction. And that will come with time. I mean, I have more direction now than I had a year ago. So I'm sure in a year from now, I'll have more direction than I do right now in this moment. So one day it'll just be all good and figured out. And I will look back at this and laugh. But I don't know when that's going to be. Anyways, what about you?
I think the all drive and no direction thing is really relevant, because I think what you need to do and what I'm doing too, I think we have similar issue in this, is that you do need to give yourself, because you have the drive, so give yourself the direction. And that may be like just trying shit and seeing if it works. And then if it doesn't, then you at least you know that you fucking did it. So like I started this podcast, which I really think you should too, especially because
I've been talking to my friends about starting a podcast for like a year.
You had a soundbite earlier that was the most I ever learn is in conversation. And I totally agree. I think there's very few amount of times these days where people get to sit down and just talk to each other and not be on their phones for however amount of time. And you learn a lot from people, because people live their own lives and they have their own experiences, and they learn a lot from those things. And if you share them with each other, then you can learn a lot from those people.
100%.
And I really think that you should do that, because it's really insightful. And I've done 3. You're my 4th official one, or 5th, I don't know. And I've already learned so much just about people and from different walks of life. And I think you really should do it too.
I mean, yeah,
definitely explore it, because it's 100%.
It can be like on any topic too. It's just like so. Yeah. It's crazy to me. I was thinking, I've thought about this a lot recently. That exact like thought of how I feel the most different, and I don't know, like what fuels me the most is having conversations with people in my life. Like I feel so good after. Like it's like it's like a high that I get from like having a really good conversation with somebody. Like whether I'm talking a lot or whether they're talking a lot or whether it's like completely even, like split down the middle. It's like, it's just, that's what I've learned, literally the most I've ever learned just from talking to other people. Not to say that I haven't learned from other things. Like, of course I've learned from school, but if anything, when have I learned the most in school? In small classes when I was having conversations with the teachers and the students. It's like just communication is like what I've learned. And like, I've learned like my job, I've learned so much from being a barista or making acai bowls at like a coffee shop. How? I'm not sure, but like just from speaking to people. That's what I realized I hated about working retail was like the lack of interaction I had with customers. I like working in a place where I'm like talking to people all the time. Like if my mouth is closed the majority of my shift, the job is like not worth my time. That's like a waste of my time. I should like either be like actively listening my whole day or like be speaking. Because yeah, that's like what's changed my life is like listening to my friends and hearing about them and talking to people and hearing their different perspectives and stuff like that.
I think I love your viewpoint and the way you see your job, because a lot of people don't see being a barista as a job where you're learning. It's a job to get to somewhere else. But I think that you're one of the few people I met who loves being a barista. And like, I think that's so cool, especially now where like you have to reach, I mean, you're going to do those things, but you feel comfortable doing what you're doing now and you're not embarrassed to like admit that you love it. Because I think a lot of people think that nowadays you have to be this huge personality and this huge person doing these really big things to enjoy life. You need to travel in the world and like go skydiving over the blue hole in wherever in Belize to like to live a full life and one full of like love and purpose. But I think I admire you so much because I
admire you, Max.
Thank you. Because you've found that in not even just a barista, like being a barista, but also like in your hometown. And I don't know a lot of people who can like say that they found something like that.
I remember when I quit working in anthropology to like work at Lucky Llama or like any other place, I was talking to my dad about it, and I like briefly mentioned to him, I was like, this is like, okay, like, oh, this kind of sounds like I'm shitting on my dad. I mean, like, I love him, but this is one thing we disagreed on. I was like complaining about my job, and I was like, I don't care what I'm not going to like stick to a job unless I love it. I'm not going to stay there unless I love the job. And my dad was like, it's a minimum wage job. Like, you're not supposed to like it. And I was like, that's bullshit. Like, I completely disagree with that statement. Like, my friends who are my age, who have minimum wage jobs that they hate, I'm like, girl, like, you don't understand how much power you have. If anything, right now, at this point in our lives, when we have these minimum wage, like random crappy jobs, that's when you have the most control over your career that you ever will. Like, if you like get swept away into like film, into media, into music, like you have so many other people to think about. So many other people like in your circle that you're going to have to be thinking about, like, because their careers are on the line too. Like, you affect so many other people the bigger that you get. But right now, I'm the only person who's affected by my job. Nobody else, just me. So that's so in my control. Why would I be working a job that I don't like? It's like, even if I'm making $15 an hour, I have 30 places in town to choose from. I may as well choose the one that I like the most. And so I was like, I would like not rest. I applied to Lucky Llama 3 times before getting hired. I wanted to work there that bad. And I was like, I meant to work here. Like, you don't understand. I like literally said that to the owner one time, like years ago when I like first applied in high school. And I was talking to somebody about this too, like recently when I was dropping my brother off at church, where it's like, I was talking to them about it, like they were talking about it in like in a religious context. I don't personally identify as religious anymore, but when I did, like, there's still so many like concepts that I've taken from like growing up Christian that I think apply to just life in general. So many things that I learned that I think are good lessons that I learned that I think transcend religion. But like, everyone has their ministry is what you say like in church. It's like, you have like gifts, like you have things that like you can do like you should use them like for the benefit of like mankind. And the way I view it is like, if I can just be someone like, we, of course, like I'd say like half of our customers are like random people who are in there for the first time ever and like never come in ever again. And half of our demographic of our customers is like people who come in every single day, people who come in all the time, who are like from Carp, who like we all like kind of are familiar with. There's like the random people who never come in ever again. And there's the people who come in every single day. And it's like, if I can just be like Oprah once said, the people who you see the most in your life, like the 5 people that you see the most in your life are the people who are going to affect you the most in your life, whether you like it or not. And Juliet and I were talking about that. And Juliet was saying like, well, with that logic, then these 2 kids that I babysit every single day, like this 3 and this 5-year-old are the people who are going to like affect me the most. And it's true. And so like, if there are people who come into Lucky Llama where I work every single day, and I'm just somebody they see every single day, I'm still somebody that they see every single day and talk to every single day. And that in some way, shape, or form is like going to affect me, and it's going to affect them. And so just from working there, I've made like some of my best friends in the whole world right now. Literally, like my best friend Jules, one of my best friends, like my best friends Kate, Crystal, Zach, my boyfriend Will, like all these people, had I not worked at Lucky Llama, like we're saying, like I have so many things to say, Max, but like,
And you were worried about not.
I know.
Enough.
I know. I feel bad. If anything, I'm like hogging your podcast. I'm like talking so much. But
no, you're the guest.
This is my point.
Go for it.
Is if I learn the most I learn ever from conversations with people, like that's how I've learned the most, right? Is like through conversing with other people and like having conversations with other people. And I feel closest to someone when I have conversations like this with them. So I'm going to leave this conversation, even though I've been talking most of the time with you, feeling significantly closer to you because we've had this conversation now. And I feel the closest and the most intimate with someone after having like a long conversation with them. And so all these best friends in my life, like Jules, Crystal, Kate, Zach, Will, these people in my life, like I consider them my best friends because we've had so many of these conversations. And to think I've had conversations like this with them, like every single time I hang out with them. And think about how much that's changed my life, because if like, this conversation is going to change my life, it's going to change your life, like as every conversation does with anyone. And like, I've had so many of those with those people, and it's all stemmed from just me working at Lucky Llama. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm a barista, but the coffee is the least of my problems. The coffee is like last on my mind. The food that we serve, like the actual tangible job, means nothing to me. Like I have no attachment to like the pitchers and the coffee beans that we use at work. But I think about how like that bag of coffee like started a conversation between my coworker and I that then stemmed into like this whole other deeper conversation because like we just went off tangents. And I'm like, this changed my life. Like this job has changed my life just because of like the people that I've met through it, like the customers that I've met. And then like there are customers who I've just like met in passing, or like they'll come in, they'll order, and then I remember them. And then like the next day I will have the day off and I come into work as a customer just to get a coffee for myself. And I see this random customer who I interacted with the day before, but when I interacted with them, I was serving them. But now I like see them in the outside world and I'm like, oh, hey, what's up? And then I end up talking to them for like an hour. And it's like, I've had so many just conversations because of my job. And to me, that's changed my life. Like the amounts of conversations I've had that I wouldn't have had if I had not worked there. And because that's how I feel like I grow the most, is through conversing. Therefore, this job is what has been the catalyst for like the majority of the growth I've had in my life. End of thought. Anyways,
Wow.
what? Yeah.
I think that's amazing. I think
Does that make sense?
it totally makes sense. I mean, that's why I'm doing this, is because what you are doing, I admire you because you take the viewpoints and the lives and the thoughts and the opinions and everything from the people that you surround yourself, and you learn from them and implement those solutions into your life, essentially, right? And start a podcast.
I want to start a podcast.
You should interview every customer that comes up. Not every, because that's a little overwhelming, but like 3 a day, and for like 15 seconds, just like ask them a question and then upload like the voice memos, and you get like a bit of Camila
You're right.
every day.
Ugh, you're
And
right.
Call it that.
You're inspiring me.
A bit of Camila.
Yeah.
Hell
and
yeah. This-
I would never have like if it were to have, that's like what I like about this podcast and the podcast that I like to listen to the most. It's like there should never be like one singular topic that we're discussing. That's like why I feel like I grow so much in conversation with my friends when we talk about everything and anything. And I'm like, I know, I don't know. I love talking to people. It's my favorite thing to do. Like, I don't care what we're doing. Just like, I like talking to people.
Talking's great.
And listening is amazing too.
Listening.
If anything, this podcast is going to make it seem like I'm a bad listener, but I am a good listener, I promise. But
She's a great listener.
oh, thank you, Max.
You're probably one of the best listeners I've ever talked to. For
Wait,
sure.
actually?
Yeah, because not a lot of people really I've honestly, how many days have we spent together? Maybe 1 or 2, couple hours. Realistically, we've spent probably like
In total, how much time have we spent together?
ever, like 12 hours maybe.
Yeah, probably 12 hours.
Okay, so like plus this.
I feel like I know you much better than that, though.
Well,
I
that's
feel like
because
I feel like I know you.
Really.
Well, not like truly and deeply, but like I would.
Well, it's because you're. A
I
good
feel
listener.
comfortable around you though, more comfortable than I would feel around someone else who I'd been around for 12 hours. But continue what you're
I
saying.
think it's because you're a good listener, and like I said, you're one of the only people that like. Juliet talks about this. Juliet's my girlfriend and one of Camila's good friends.
one of Camila's best friends. Yes.
There you go. Plug. She talks about how you are one of the few people, and I try to be more like you, because you, as soon as you see someone or talk to someone, it's hi, like, how are you doing? How's your day? Whereas like a lot of people focus on like, oh, like themselves on, like I am I'm terrible with that. Like I'm terrible at, I'm really trying to get better at it, but I just always talk about me, myself, and my issues to other people, like to Juliet. It's just like me. And I'm trying to get better at that. And she might say otherwise, but you are very, like, she always talks about how whenever she sees you, it's, hi, Juliet, how are you doing? How's your day? And people get really taken aback because they're like, wow, like someone like cares about me, my problems. And it's not just me in my own head talking about it. And you give people that outlet to be like, okay, now I can tell them about this comfortably and have them listen, and then we can talk about it and then learn something from that conversation.
100%.
And that's why I feel like I know you and you know me more, because you provided that initially. It was like, hi, Max, how are you doing? Who are you? Tell me about yourself. Whereas like, oh, hi. And then like continuing with the conversation is that I think you have a genuine love and just interest in people.
I'm bashful.
and others in general. And I think that it contributes to you being a more well-rounded person and a better person. And I think that's why people love you so much.
Thank you, Max.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's very nice. I'm practicing accepting compliments. And so I'm saying thank you instead
Accept
of
the
rejecting
compliment.
it.
There you go.
What I say to people, oh my gosh, that sounds so like egotistical, but what I've found that I subconsciously say to people whenever I start a conversation with them is I say, like, tell me everything about your life in extreme detail. And they're always like, what? In extreme detail? I'm like, well, yeah, like otherwise what's the point?
Exactly. No one does that.
And so then people tell me about their lives in extreme detail, and then I know everything about them. Like, it's honestly astounding to me how many people have told me that I know more about them than anybody else. And I'm like, me? And we're like not even that close, because I guess we've had conversations that like are very like revealing about the other person that I'm not even like realizing we're having, but I guess we are. But I feel guilty when like I don't do that. I want to know everything about everyone, because even the people in my life who like on paper when I first meet them, they seem kind of like, I don't think I would find you interesting. I still just like ask that question, because typically after about 5 minutes of conversation, I get to the point where I'm like, oh, I get it now. I'm interested. Like I get who you are now. But yeah, I love listening to people and asking them about themselves. And like, I love making them uncomfortable with like asking them a lot of questions. It's my favorite when they're like thrown aback by like a personal question that I may ask. I love that. But yeah, I love talking to people and asking them about themselves and being their therapists.
I think in conclusion, you should start a podcast and have that very first question be the one that you just said, which was, wait, what was it again?
Tell me everything about your life in extreme detail.
Yeah. Like every single podcast opens with that exact same line, and you're just like, tell me everything about your life in extreme detail. And then it's just like, boom, just goes off.
Honestly, that's a good idea. I've wondered. I'm like, okay, like
You could call
podcasts
it
need to
that
have.
too.
I need to have something that's like, not like a theme, but like something that,
No, you don't.
but like something that's like consistent in each episode, like something that like one thing that's like the same, and that could be that thing.
For me, my consistency is not having consistency. It's consistently non-consistent.
That's so meta. Love that.
Damn, meta. But like, no, I don't think you need to. It's funny. Like I'm just starting this, but people keep asking me. They're like, so like, what's the theme? Or like, even in Apple, and you have to pick like a genre, and be like, oh, what's your genre? And it's like, well, I don't know. I just want to talk to people and share it with people, and hopefully they learn something from it.
That's what's up.
That's what's up.
What's up, guys? Thank you guys so much again for tuning into This World's podcast with Camila Lemire. She's incredible. I learned so much from her every time I talk to her. And truly, like the part where I was like, whenever you see her, she's like, how are you doing? What's up? It's totally true. She's just amazing. And I'm so happy that I got to have her on here to tell you guys more about her life and her perspective on her work and her place right now. And I just think it's so unique and freaking badass, to be honest. So I hope you guys learned something, and thanks again for tuning in. Okay, one more thing before I go. No one solved the puzzle last week, but we're going to keep her going. I'm just going to give you guys a clue, which is ISS, the letters ISS. That could maybe stand for something, or it could mean something else. You guys just have to figure it out. But I'm going to re-include the audio from the puzzle in the rear of this podcast, and you guys can listen to it again if you didn't get it last week. But yeah, good luck. Maybe slide into my DMs if you want a little hint for the puzzle. Maybe I'll give you one. Well, maybe not. We'll see. But I also want to open the dialogue up about how I'm titling these podcasts and what your guys' thoughts are as far as not having the names of the people. I don't tag anyone. I don't put their names in the podcast because I mentioned in the intro why, to like challenge you guys to listen to people that you may have not clicked on if you didn't know their names. But there's a positive and negative to that, and I'm just kind of opening the comments, and just feel free to comment in the post on this podcast or DM me about your thoughts. Yeah, I'm just kind of trying to sort all the kinks out and figuring things out. But Camila's freaking awesome, and I hope you guys enjoyed and learned something. Have a good day. You're amazing. See you on Thursday. Bye.